All right, guys, welcome to the ESO Vodcast with Soma and Deagen.
Hi.
We're going to be going over the Templar class skills today.
What?
We have so far gone over the Dragon Knight, and then last week, or not last week, actually last Saturday, we went over the Sorcerer skill line. So, I don't know. This is going to be pretty crazy going over the Templar class skills because me and Soma have been reading on it and it's strong. It's really
I want to.
strong.
I want to play it. I want to play the Templar. I was telling Deegan and Atropos and some other nerdy folks that I've been all about being the tank for the guild that Deegan and I create. That's what I want to do. I've been all about that for a while now. And then I look at the tanking potential in the Templar, and I don't know if I want to fly the banner of the Dragon Knight any longer. I'd rather
Jumping ship.
Oh, I don't know yet. Why don't we just go over this and then I'll see how I feel at the end.
All right. And also I see Atropos in the chat. I need to convert. I don't even know, honestly, if it's going to work. I'm not going to play the TF intro today because I can't figure out why it's so choppy in XSplit. Done some research. It's apparently like a thing with XSplit right now as far as having media video files in there. So I'm not sure if maybe converting it to a different file type might help. I don't know, but I need to do that, and I'll have it up for this Saturday's stream.
I know a couple of paleontologists I can call, and they know a couple of surgeons, so we can get everyone together to doctor up the internet for you. We'll figure it out. Don't worry.
Yeah, definitely.
We got this. I'll call a lawyer. We'll get this situated immediately.
Get a rocket surgeon on the phone, and maybe he can help us out.
Roger that.
All right, guys. All right, let's dive into this. Here we go.
Dive. Okay. So, the Templar. I've been wrestling with this bastard. Well, that sounded creepy. I've been wrestling with the fact that I want to switch to this class. And I don't want to, like I said, jump ship on the Dragon Knight, but wait until you see what we have here, guys. Okay. So we have 3 lines for the Templar. Aedric Spear, Dawn's Wrath, and Restoring Light. And that last one you can pretty much figure out what that is, right?
Yeah. Dawn's Wrath, just like the name of the skill tree in general, just sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
I love that name.
Aedric Spear, that's your melee, up close, deep melee DPS kind of character archetype tree that you could follow. There's a lot of different AoE abilities. There's some damage mitigation stuff in there, and there's a lot of knockbacks and stuff like that.
I feel it's not like a pure melee class. I wouldn't call it pure melee. I would call it like a bruiser. Okay, it's not like it's probably not going to do like a crazy amount of damage, but you're a little bit tanky, but you have a lot of good damaging spells too.
I wouldn't even say it's just melee either. I take it back because with all the knockbacks and stuff like that, you're gonna see mages and archers and stuff using this too to try to clear gaps, or to try to open up gaps in between melee fighters and whatnot. So, but the way I saw it in my head at first, I saw like a tank that could knock back stuff and use a lot of these AoE abilities that we'll get into in a little bit. And the next line is Dawn's Wrath, and that's more of your magey DPS kind of stuff. You know, like a lot of range spells. There's even a couple of tanking abilities in there too, which makes me want to play even more because I want to be a tank. And some really great passives as well that really buff the tree. And then finally we have Restoring Light, which is the healing tree for the Templar. It's not all heals though. There's some other stuff in there, that help gain immunity to interrupts and help you regen health or stamina or whatever faster. And
As
we'll get
far
into
as
that
what
as
we've
well.
seen so far, the Restoring Light tree is by far the most support-oriented tree that we've seen. But it is still it's a really
Yeah,
good tree.
big time, by far. Yeah, it's sexy though, for sure. It's sexy.
Tis the sexy. All right, well, let's start with the Aedric Spear skill line. I guess I'll let you take the
Okay.
first tree.
Okay. So, Aedric Spear. I really like this line. If I was a tank, I would be utilizing stuff out of this. But let's get right to it with the ultimate radial sweep. Sweeps a conjured weapon in a deadly arc, dealing magic damage to all enemies around you. AoE ultimate sounds awesome to me in PvE or PvP,
It doesn't have
especially
any
PvP.
it doesn't have any weird thing besides damage. It doesn't give you a bonus or make them rooted or knockback or slowed or anything like that, which makes me feel like this ability is going to hit like a truck.
It's this is going to be straight up damage,
Yeah.
big time. I'm assuming it's going to have a pretty ultimate cost. It's going to be up there because it's just one. I'm assuming it's going to be instant cast rather. Sweep
Oh,
a
yeah,
conjure weapon
yeah.
in deadly arc. I don't see a channeling, to like do that. Like it wouldn't make any sense. So it's going to be instant cast probably, and it's flat damage in an AOE around you. It's going to be strong. It's going to be really strong. It's going to be good not only for clearing a bunch of AoE trash or a bunch of trash AoE style in let's say a dungeon. It's going to be good in PvP. A bunch of people jump on you because you're the tank, and you have everyone stacked up and you hit radial sweep. It's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna hit a lot. Yeah, it's gonna do work. Yeah, Tropos. I see Tropos talking about a smite god in the chat, and yeah, I mean it's gonna hit hard. It's gonna hit really hard, and I wonder how fast it's gonna sweep too. I would imagine it's gonna be quite quick. So
Yeah,
even
for
if
sure.
you had something ready to go where you could maybe, if you were playing like a mage and you wanted to try to blink and dodge it, it was still probably gonna be very difficult to dodge.
I wonder what the range will be, the AoE range. How far out will that spear or whatever the
Whatever the
animation
weapon's
is?
gonna be, yeah.
How far will it reach? I'm assuming it's going to be a spear, Aedric spear line. But it might be a really short range because of its high damage, or it might be medium damage because it has a decently long range. And of course, it's going to morph as well. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we'll get like a range increase morph or something like that.
It's gonna be strong. Absolutely.
Okay, first active is puncturing strikes. A 4-hit attack dealing chained damage to any foes in front of you. The final hit knocks back the closest enemy. That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure we've seen footage of this ability too.
Yes,
Like it's been
the
in a few
QuakeCon
different
demo.
videos
Yep, QuakeCon
where
demo.
you can see it, yeah, and it's not the most visually appealing thing that I've seen in ESO, but it looked like it did pretty decent damage from what we saw, so it's pretty good.
And this is an ability that you could use as an archer or a mage or a tank, whatever you want. Someone runs up to you, you hit him 4 times, and you knock back the closest enemy to you. That's awesome. I mean, you don't have to use it as a tank. A lot of tanks want to pull enemies closer, but sometimes knocking back an enemy will help. Will help a tank a lot. I think this is just a good overall ability. It's good for really any path you take, DPS, healing, well, not healing, DPS or tank. It's good. Gotta love knockbacks. And who knows how it'll morph. Maybe it'll, instead of knocking back, it'll pull you closer, or maybe it'll hit, maybe every hit will knock back or something like that. Who knows? It's gonna be awesome.
There's always a ton of different ways they can morph these abilities, and it's always fun to think about what it might do when it will morph. But yeah, it's pretty standard, early active in the skill line. Does 4 hits of damage in a chain, and then the last one knocks it back.
I can't imagine the damage would be extreme if it's 4 hits. It'll probably be 4, small bits of damage that will
Right.
accumulate into a decent amount.
Yeah, maybe like Switchblade said, maybe on like the last hit when it knocks him back, maybe they'll also be rooted for 2 seconds or something, or maybe it'll apply like a
A
bleed
bleed.
or something, which would be pretty cool.
Right.
Definitely, like I said, there's always a ton of ways they can morph these abilities.
All right, we got the next active here, Piercing Javelin. Hurl a spear, dealing damage and knocking the target backwards. That is awesome. A ranged knockback.
Just
This is
sounds
gonna
like it's gonna be
be
fun to do. I feel like that
this is gonna
ability,
be awesome for archers and mages.
the make or break thing for this ability for me is how it feels. Like whenever I think of a knockback, I think of like an ability's got to have a lot of force, right? It's got to feel like it hits
Sure.
hard because otherwise, what's knocking them back? Is it the force
Yeah.
has to be there. So when I think of like a piercing javelin, I think of him like really just hurling this spear at somebody and just it's got to feel like it's hitting them hard.
I completely agree. If it feels like it's just like a little puff of dust when it hits, and like it's not going that fast, and they fly backwards 20 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little weird, but I'm sure they'll nail that down. I'm not worried about that at all. But yeah, piercing javelin is gonna be great. I wouldn't necessarily say, okay, I'm a tank, and that's what I'm gonna roll. Obviously, I've mentioned that several times. Can't wait. But I wouldn't necessarily put piercing javelin on my bar. I don't.
Well,
That's a single target knockback. I can see puncturing strikes because it's an AOE in front of you. But piercing javelin, if I was
you
rolling
got to think about
DPS.
the ways it can be used too. When I think of a knockback, it's still like an interrupt. You can't cast
true.
while you're being
That's
knocked
true.
back. So
That's true.
is
That's
a
good
tank
point.
that you want to be a little bit, you're tanking a boss and ads come in and maybe there's one casting and you have a ranged interrupt.
No, that's true. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. If anyone's wondering, I'm kind of out of it. I honestly just woke up like probably 20 minutes before we started the cast. I streamed really late last night, so I'm out of it, and I gotta wake up. Okay. All right. Let's get my head in the game, Deagen. I'm looking at you, Deagen. I'm looking at you right now.
Welcome to the game.
Okay. All right. So that was piercing javelin, guys. The next active, focused charged. Focused charge is awesome. Charge to an enemy, interrupting them, and dealing magic damage.
Awesome. Now, when I think of
that's
this
something I'd be
ability, I
using.
think of one of the things that made Star Wars an incredibly fun like MMO to play in PvP as far as going and playing Juggernauts and Marauders, where you could jump to somebody.
Yeah,
And I
that was
think
awesome.
if they make it look anything like that, where you're just like power leaping to somebody and smashing down on them, it's going to be so fun. So fun.
Any kind of charge, especially for a tank or melee DPS, like a dual wield Templar or a two-hand Templar.
Well, think about it too for
and
tanking.
It interrupts.
Yeah, not only does it interrupt, but think about it for tanking, just initiating on a group of mobs, just leaping in and then, dropping whatever else you got to do. It's going to
That's
be
exactly
a good ability.
what I
It's going to
wanna
be
do,
awesome.
Yeah. Templar keeps getting better and better. I've already read over this so many times, this article, and now that I'm actually talking about it, it just makes me want to play it even more. Okay.
It's so strong. It's going to be a
This
strong
ability, this next ability, is so cool to me. I love it. Spear Shards deals magic damage to all enemies in a target area. One target is disoriented for a short duration. An ally may pick up the spear, granting both of you bonus damage for a short time. That is freaking awesome.
It
That's
is
gonna be-
awesome, but it's hard to figure out exactly how it's going to look. Like I'm trying to imagine how this is going to look in my head.
What I imagine is you get your circular target on the screen, and you get to pick where you cast it.
Right.
Let's say you put it over these 3 enemies, and it's like, I don't know, a green target. You slide it over the 3 enemies, you cast it. I think
He
maybe
throws like a spear in the air and it crashes
and
down
like
on
it
him
crashes
or something.
down, crashes down, or like a bunch of little spears fall from the sky or something like that. As long as they do a good job of the animation.
Well, I
it'll be
can't
fine.
imagine it's more than one spear because it just says an ally may pick up the spear, granting both of you bonus
But
damage
it's
for a short
spear
time.
shards. I don't know. Spear shards. I know that the wording is a little. An ally may pick up the spear. Well, I'm imagining there's going to be some like glowing spear that comes, that you'll see after you drop that target and the spear shards are cast and the enemy is disoriented. I imagine you're going to see some glowing spear there that you can just right click or left click really fast, and then you'll get some 10-second damage buff or like 5% damage or something like that.
And Thanks from the chat is saying he's read somewhere that it could be anywhere up to 15% damage bonus, which would be insane. 15%.
Then how could you not use that? You'd have to use this. I mean, you would want to use this because it's an AoE in PvP and PvE. I would use this as a tank to do AoE damage as a tank in PvE and PvP.
Well, not only does it do AoE damage, but it disorients an enemy, and then it also deals magic damage, and also gives both you and one of your DPS a damage bonus. It says a short time, which I would assume it's probably somewhere for 5 to 10 seconds, but still, that's pretty crazy. 15% adds up. It does add up.
And for the fact that it's AoE and you can choose exactly where it's going to be, you could be kiting someone or kiting a group of mobs, cast that and run them right into it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do with this ability. Yeah. I think this is like my favorite ability in this tree by far. I think it looks awesome. I can't wait to give it a go.
Definitely.
The next active is Sun Shield. Create a damage absorption shield with strength based on your max health, dealing damage to nearby enemies on activation. Shield returns a damage. The shield returns a damage and is replenished by a small amount. Returns damage and is replenished by a small amount each time it is struck by an enemy. The Templar no longer regenerates magicka while the shield holds. So I love that. I love that skill until I see that last sentence.
Well, I feel like without that last sentence, that ability would be way too strong.
I know. Yeah, exactly. There's got to be balance in the force.
Yeah, unfortunately, reading through that, you're like, what? It gets more? What? It gets more? And then the last sentence, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you don't regenerate any magicka while your shield is up, but a damage absorption shield based on your max health, which again, this is completely, if you're tanking, this is something you're probably going to want. Dealing damage to nearby enemies on activation, so that does mean whenever you pop the shield, it's probably going to do instant damage to things around you. And it also returns damage and is replenished by a small amount each time you're hit. So basically, if you're getting hit a lot, I feel like this thing is just going to regen like crazy.
I think that Sun Shield is going to be absolutely incredible for guys that want to go more of a stamina build and maybe use like dual wield or bows or two-hand weapons. I feel like if you're not going to be utilizing magicka very much and you want to use those weapon skill lines that take stamina, this is going to be so good. You charge in with your two-hand sword, you activate Sun Shield, and then you use stamina abilities in the middle of the crowd in PvP, and they can barely touch you because you're a melee tank or something like that. That's awesome. I think it's going to be amazing. Yeah. But for me personally, as someone that wants to use more magicka with his tank build, I don't necessarily know if I would use Sun Shield. I think it'll help tanks as well, but that magicka regeneration, some builds are going to need that magicka regenerated, and it's not going to work for all builds. But for certain builds, especially stamina-oriented builds, this is going to be invaluable and a must for folks that are going with stamina builds, I think.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's always fun to think about how people are going to build their character, because there is a lot of things where it's like, okay, well, I'm a mage. I'm going to obviously have abilities that use a lot of magicka, but do I also want to have, those abilities on my skill tree or my bars that are stamina based, or do I want to just stack as much magicka as possible and only cast spells? I feel like I'm going to kind of go half and half and try to balance it out a little bit, but some people are probably going to just go balls in on one of them, and
with Sun Shield as well, we don't know how much damage it's going to do. It deals damage on activation, and then it returns damage to foes as they're hit.
Yeah.
So if the DPS is really good on this ability, you might see tanks utilize it to clear trash and whatnot too, like in PvE. I don't imagine it's going to be a ridiculous amount of DPS though that this shield is pumping out. But who knows? It looks fun though for certain builds, that's for sure. Excuse me. Okay, so now we have the 4 passives to get into. The first passive is Piercing Spear. Increases the critical strike chance with spear abilities and deals bonus damage to blocking targets. That is awesome.
Well,
I really like the deals bonus damage to blocking targets.
Also, this is the first passive we've seen so far that has an increase to critical strike chance, which is cool.
With just those abilities, but that's still fine. More of a crit strike chance with like radial sweep or spear charge, something like that.
Definitely.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be strong.
The next passive is Spear Wall. Increase the amount of damage you block while you have a spear ability slotted. So that right there is directly for tanks. If you have a spear ability slotted, and that's what I was saying earlier, Aedric Spear has some good stuff for tanks, like Focus Charge.
Focus Charge, absolutely.
Spear Shards, I think, is a good one, and Puncturing Strikes. All 3 of those to me are good, and I don't know, I think they're great. But yeah, increase the amount of damage you block with a spear ability slotted. Who knows? It could be anywhere from 3 to 5%, maybe even 1%. Who knows? But if you have at least a couple up, it's going to be a nice little buffer. And even 1% damage reduction is good.
I mean, if you're tanking, you're probably going to have at least one of the spear abilities on your tree anyways. So it's obviously going to be a passive you're going to take. Seems like a no-brainer, really.
I'd imagine Focus Charge is going to be a must for tanks. I think it's just a must in general. I think Focus Charge is gonna, so you at least have that on your bar. But yeah, the next passive is Burning Light. Adds a chance to deal bonus damage with spear skills. So I'm assuming that's you toss your piercing javelin and it hits them. I'm assuming this is almost like it's doing a second attack. Probably just a secondary, like a little bit of extra damage.
Yeah.
Let's say you do 100 damage, and as soon as that 100 damage ticks, like maybe 20 more damage will tick, and add on top of that. Or something.
Right. It's probably like there's probably gonna be like a 20% chance or something like that where you do an extra X amount of damage. But I mean, either way, it still seems like it's going to be something that you would probably want. I mean, look at all the passives so far in the spear tree. A lot of them are just increasing your damage with something. I think it's going to be strong. The damage from this tree right now is looking pretty good.
Yeah. The next passive is Balanced Warrior. Increases your weapon power and spell resistance by a small amount. Huge. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, anytime that you get a flat increase with weapon power and spell resistance, and it doesn't say, it's not anything that's, stuck within the Aedric Spear tree. It's just in general. And we talked about this in the past Vodcast, where anytime you get a flat bonus for anything, it's generally a passive you're going to want. It's going to be good. Even if it's only by, a very small amount. It doesn't even matter. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, 2, 3, 4%, 5%. Small numbers that go a long way. I mean, that goes miles. End game.
Yeah.
And yeah, someone mentioned in chat they had the same thought I had, and that Templar seems like it's going to be a great AoE tank or off tank, as opposed to maybe like the Dragon Knight's potential to tank bigger hits with magma armor, etc., and stuff like that. Maybe like a main boss tank or a main tank will be the role that you see Dragon Knights fill. Yeah. Whereas the Templar could do it too, but it seems like there's a lot of good AoE stuff here that they'd be really good tanks in PvP in a big battle, and really
For sure.
good with clearing trash. But
Absolutely.
we'll get to that at the end. Next, we're on to Dawn's Wrath.
Yeah, that's it for Aedric Spear. Again, really strong. A lot of passives increasing your damage and stuff like that, which is great. And a lot of really cool gap closers and ranged interrupts and stuff like that, which is pretty neat in that skill tree. All right, we'll go to Dawn's Wrath. And again, I just love the sound of this. Without even reading any of the abilities, Dawn's Wrath just seems like a cool name. All right, the ultimate. The ultimate is called Nova. Calls forth a miniature sun at your target location, causing all nearby enemies to deal less damage while taking damage over time. Allies may activate the Supernova Synergy, dealing damage and stunning all enemies in the area.
What?
That is gonna be so good. You're calling it a mini sun? Like, what?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, and just think about it. Just think
amazing
about
for AoE tanking.
how long is the Nova gonna be there? How long is this miniature sun gonna be there?
That's a few seconds at least. I'd say anywhere from 4 to 12 seconds, maybe. And that's pushing it on the 12 seconds.
I feel like that's gonna be crazy good.
It's a dot, and it decreases their damage, and an enemy can activate, or an ally can activate the synergy to deal a bunch of damage and stun.
Yeah.
So
so good.
You could roll up into a dungeon, pull a bunch of trash mobs, when you have a bunch of ultimates stored up, hit this, hit Nova. They're not doing any damage to you. Well, they're doing damage, but they're doing less damage to you. While there's also a dot on them, and you can take them out. You can take them out that way.
I mean,
or let's say you're in PvP, you cast Nova, and then your allies hit the synergy, and you just stun everybody. I mean,
yeah, I don't. As good as this ability is going to be in PvE, I can only think about how it's going to be in PvP. Like,
the synergy is really good.
Screams PvP to me. It screams PvP.
Supernova screams PvP to me. Supernova is going to be extremely important in PvP, and it's going to be annoying as shit to deal with.
Yeah, it's going to be so strong. It's going to be so strong. Anyways, we'll move on to the next one. I mean, we can't say any more about Nova. It seems like it's a no-brainer as far as how good it's going to be. The first active is called Sunfire. Hurls a white-hot projectile at an enemy, dealing both initial damage and additional damage over time. The target is snared for a short duration. So not only do you get initial damage...
Right there. There's a picture of it right there, too.
There's a picture of it. Oh, right here? Yeah, this right here. Yeah, Sunfire mid-flight. So, yeah, it just looks like a ball of fire. Again, it does initial damage, does damage over time, and snared.
That's good. That's really good.
You got everything you want right there, pretty much. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good.
It's all wrapped up into a pretty box.
That pretty
snares,
white
dots,
ball of hot fire.
White hot fire. No, it's awesome. Single target. If you're a mage or an archer and you're a Templar, lead off with this ability.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Fire this off. It snares them, and then you can just do whatever you want to them at that point.
Yeah.
And then let's say they get close. All you have to do is toss your piercing javelin, and then hit them with another Sunfire, and they're screwed.
I just knock them back and snare them again. No, like that's exactly how I would play the Templar. If I was in PvE and I was pulling, I would just hit probably the biggest guy with the biggest weapon, hit him with this, and let the other weaker enemies come towards me, kill them, and then focus on this guy. It just seems really good. It's a really good ability that you get really early on, which is awesome. It's got a lot of stuff wrapped up in it for being a really early active. It's good stuff. All right, the next one is Solar Flare. Deal damage to the target and nearby enemies. Affected foes take extra damage from the next attack.
That's also amazing.
Cool.
The AoE that the Templar has, the AoE abilities are just so good to me. They're just very attractive. That's good for once again, both PvE and PvP. Anytime a foe will take extra damage, we really beat this dead horse about how important. Anytime you get to do a little bit of extra damage, take that.
Yes.
So if you're going to be a tanker in PvP, you're going to want to use this, I think. If especially clumped enemies, you deal damage to a target and then it spreads to anything nearby. It's going to be good for trash mobs. It's going to be good for clumped people in PvP.
Yeah, I mean, it's
going to be good for group play.
I always think about PvP and how, when you have two equally skilled players, the person who generally comes out on top is the guy that's got, the synergy ability, something that's going to give them that 2% extra damage or something like that. So you're always looking for something that's going to give you just that little bit of extra damage that's going to put you over the top, or that little bit of extra CC that's going to put you over the top. And Solar Flare is going to be really strong.
I wonder how much extra damage should be. Like, do you think of like a flat percentage?
I would think it would be a
maybe
percentage. I don't feel like it didn't say. It's hard to tell, because if it is a percentage based damage for Solar Flare, I feel like you would just find the highest damaging ability that you can get and just Solar Flare someone and then use your highest damaging ability to hit them next. But if it's like a set amount of damage where it's, say you're hitting someone for 100 damage and then you Solar Flare them and then you hit them again and you do 150 damage or something like that, and it gives you like 50 extra damage or something. I don't know. But either way, no matter how they decide to go about what the bonus damage is, it's going to be incredibly strong.
Yeah. Okay,
So
the next one's the best. Get ready for this.
Yeah, this one's awesome. All right, the next active is Backlash. Stores up incoming damage. When the effect ends, nearby enemies each take some of the base damage plus the full amount of damage taken by the Templar during the Backlash duration.
Jesus, that is going to be insane. Can you imagine if, like, you're
Put a
getting
healer.
chased by, like, 10 dudes?
Put a healer on a Templar and let him run around and kite people, and then
Yeah, you have like
blow
10
them up.
10 people hitting you in Cyrodiil. You have Backlash, you turn Backlash on, like 10 dudes are just trying to slaughter you. And you have a healer healing through it, and then the end of Backlash, all of the thousands amount of damage that they've pumped into you backlashes on them. You could insta-kill people with this.
Yeah, I already see like a build where you run around with Backlash on, you Solar Flare the enemy that you really want to blow up, and then you use whatever that leap was, focus charge, and just jump right back on him, stand right in his face, and watch him explode. It's gonna be
crazy.
It's gonna
Backlash is gonna be so freaking fun in PvP. I mean, yeah, obviously in PvE, you could just pull a whole room and have all the trash smacking you, and then you could heal through it, and then it'll kill all the trash mobs, and it's going to be a really effective way to clear rooms. You're going to have your, like in adventure zones and whatnot, if there is a need for off tanks, you're going to see someone rolling a Templar off tank with this ability to nuke through mobs to get to bosses and whatnot.
Maybe I'll just have to play a Templar off tank, and you can play Dragon Knight main tank, and we'll just be.
Do you want to?
I would actually probably be okay with that. We'll see.
I am totally down.
We'll see. Okay. I mean, Templar does seem fun, and we said the same thing.
Yeah, it does.
You know what the good thing about going through all these different class skills and stuff is, though? We said the same thing about Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight's going to be so fun. Then we went through the Sorcerer ones, and we're like, Sorcerer is going to be so much fun. And now we're talking about Templar, and we feel the same way. So that just goes to show that every class is going to be a good starting point. Again, and I say starting point.
Yeah, and I've gotten a chance.
Be fun.
And I've gotten a chance to play Nightblade, and I know how OP Nightblades are, so every single class is just freaking fun. But anyway, sorry.
Well, that's Backlash, guys. Incredibly cool ability. It's going to be so much fun to use. All right, the next active is Eclipse. The Templar reflects negative single target spells back towards enemy casters. Recasting the Eclipse spell becomes more expensive for a short time. So basically what that means is they don't want you to keep it up all the time.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, because it's amazing. It's a really good ability.
So if you're fighting, I think of this in like a one-on-one scenario where people are casting on you and you're trying to keep Eclipse up, but they're kind of just baiting you out to keep it up and waste your resources. So
Exactly.
it makes sense that they put that in there, but overall the ability is still super strong. I mean, reflect negative single target spells back towards an enemy caster. Heck yes.
While you can use this in PvE, I assume that most people will be using this in PvP.
Yeah, that's a PvP ability through and through.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it's definitely PvE. I mean, you can use it in PvE, but it's going to be utilized in PvP, definitely. I think that you might see this on like the secondary hotbar for someone that can, quickly switch to their other weapon when they see a couple of mages rolling up on them. Pop that, do a focus charge, or whatever to get close. Does it completely reflect the damage? Who knows? Maybe it's on 100% reflection, because it appears that. I wonder how long it'll stay up actually. Before I say that, do you think it's?
I would say 2 or 3 seconds.
Okay.
I would
Recasting the Eclipse spell becomes more expensive for a short time. Yeah, it can't be a very long duration if it becomes more expensive for a short time.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's short because they want you to recast it to waste your resources, right?
Yeah. They know it's strong, so they're putting a negative effect on recasting it multiple times. So it makes sense, but I mean either way, the ability is going to be really strong in somebody, someone who is really used to doing PvP and doing the 1v1s and kind of just waiting, and because people are literally going to do that. They're going to wait and just try to bait spells out, and it's going to be fun to fight Templars with this ability because it does say a negative single target abilities too, so you could still cast AoEs on them and stuff like that, but a single target spell would be reflected back to you. But it seems like it would make for some interesting duels and stuff like that, so it could be really fun.
Yeah. And that's important to note, is that it's single target spells that are reflected, guys. So let's say whatever the animation is, whenever Eclipse is cast, who knows what the animation will be. When you see that animation, you're not going to want to single target that guy. You're going to want to cast an AoE ability on someone next to him, or just leave him alone for a second.
yeah. Or just leave him alone.
Just leave you alone.
Just leave you alone for a second. It's going to be a cool ability. All right, the next active is Blinding Light. Cause all incoming enemy attacks to miss. Sometimes a miss attack causes the attacker to become off balanced.
What?
Now, I want to read this again. I'm going to read this again real quick. Cause all incoming enemy attacks to miss. It doesn't say give all enemy incoming attacks a chance to miss. It doesn't say all incoming enemy melee attacks. It says all attacks. And it's a guaranteed miss.
That's so strong. That better be
expensive. It better be really
expensive, and the duration better be short.
Talk about face tanking like a boss. Like that is you face tank a boss in PvE with this ability. Like what? Face tank.
Now do you know why I want to play a Templar? It's gonna I can't see it lasting very long, and it's gonna be expensive too. I expect this to gut half your magicka. This is an oh shit skill, straight up. This is I'm panicking. Hopefully my healer can get this last heal off.
I'm telling you right now, there's no better tanking ability that we've read in this game yet that comes close to this ability. That's how strong this is.
Yeah, this is the best taking
There's
ability.
damage reduction, there's chance to miss, there's stuff like that, but this one is a straight up, you can't touch me. Period.
That's really powerful.
You can't touch me.
It's Pally Bubble. Damn it, it's Pally Bubble.
Now, again, a lot of people in chat too are saying the same thing. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know the resource cost of it. I would guess the resource cost is either going to be very high or the duration is going to be very low, or a combination of both.
Reading it sounds OP. When we actually see it,
yes,
we'll know. But it's fun to get excited about it because it's just a sentence to read. when we see numbers, we see it actually happen, we'll have a better understanding. But I think it's awesome.
Sounds so strong. It sounds so
Sounds
strong,
awesome.
but
Yeah,
really,
sounds
I mean, an awesome ability. I mean, that is a crazy good ability. All right, on to the actives for Dawn's Wrath,
Passives.
or the passive. Sorry.
It's okay.
The first one is
forgive
Enduring Rays. Increase the duration of all Dawn's Wrath abilities, which,
awesome.
yes.
All of a sudden, that eclipse, that blinding light, all that, and the sunfire snare.
Backlash, and the more damage you store up, the more damage it does. Yeah, it's perfect.
awesome.
It's perfect
Okay,
for
that's
the class tree. Perfect for it.
That's a must, yeah.
The next passive, Prism. Gain an additional ultimate when activating a Dawn's Wrath ability.
I love that. Anytime you gain ultimate faster to use your best abilities.
And with the way
that.
ultimate the Nova's set up, oh my gosh, yeah, you would want to
Yeah.
be able to use that as much as possible. As much as possible. Another great
And
another great
that
passive.
would work for the other ultimates too, of course.
Yes, it
And
doesn't
you
say
get,
just for
radial
sure.
sweep or anything. So
Absolutely. Very good passive. The next one, Illuminate. Take less incoming damage from enemies which are affected by your Dawn's Wrath abilities. Another great ability. Like, I think, like, as a tank, you would want to grab that passive for sure. I would assume you're probably going to use at least one. I mean, Blinding Light is just... Now, I don't know if that would count as something being affected by your Dawn's Wrath abilities. So maybe you'd have to use Backlash or something like that. Or maybe even... I guess Solar
Backlash.
Flare.
Yeah, Backlash and Solar Flare with this.
Yeah, would be really strong.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said before, a tank with Solar Flare and Backlash is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then you put this on top of it, Illuminate, just even more damage mitigation, less incoming damage from anyone affected by a Dawn's Wrath ability. It's just getting better and better for tanking. The tanking potential with Templar is sexy.
Sexy.
It's sexy.
Yeah, definitely. These passives are very good so far. All right, the last passive is Restoring Spirit. Restore a small amount of magicka when activating an ability. I don't care how much magicka it is, but if I'm casting abilities anyways and I get a little bit of magicka back, health to yeah.
You can't beat that.
You can't
and
beat it.
And it doesn't just factor in for Dawn's Wrath abilities, it's activating an ability.
Yeah,
So
any
I'm assuming
ability.
any ability, yeah.
Which, to me, like... I don't know why they just didn't put like a mana cost or like a magicka cost reduction on abilities. Like, why have it restore magicka when you... I guess it makes sense. Because even for, if you have something that costs, say, 10 magicka, and then you have your, blinding light that costs 50, they don't want it to be a percentage of that. So I guess having a set amount of small magicka makes more sense, but... Still really strong.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, you're going to have 30 or so passives across all the trees, absolutely. But the passives for Dawn's Wrath are pretty awesome. There wasn't one in there that I thought, didn't have a place in a build. So, holy crap, Dawn's Wrath is an incredible skill tree.
Yeah, it's looking awesome. And now we have the last skill line, which takes a completely different route. The other two skill lines, just the AoE potential, the DPS potential, the tanky potential there is out of control. And then we get to Restoring Light, and we flip the script completely. This is the healing tree. It's the only tree in ESO for a class that has some sort of healing potential, besides the Restoration Staff skill line, which is a weapon skill line. So this is an incredibly important tree, and if you want to be a healer and not use a Resto Staff, you will be rolling a Templar. So we're going to see a lot of Templars in the game. We're going to be seeing a shitload of Templars in ESO, actually.
Which is kind of frustrating.
It's a little frustrating,
It's kind of frustrating.
But I think that you're going to see a lot of Restoration Staff folks too.
Oh, I absolutely agree that you'll be seeing a ton of Restoration Staffs in ESO. but having only one class that innately gets the well, again, there's a lot of other skill lines you can
Survivability.
pick up. I'm sure there's probably some healing abilities in like the mages guild stuff. So
Right. There's other skill lines that will offer survivability and
healing.
healing.
But as
And
far
I'm
as
assuming.
initial, your starting point for your classes, the only class that's going to have a set healing tree is the Templar.
And I mean, you look at like Dragon Knight. He has some healing abilities to keep him alive. Of course, the Nightblade has the siphoning tree, so you can keep himself healed. I mean, there's ways to keep yourself healed, but for flat out healing,
Yeah.
if you want to be a healer and not use a resto staff, this is your option. So let's get into it. Okay, so Restoring Light's ultimate is Rite of Passage. Channels a restorative aura. Nearby allies take less damage while channeling and heals the target while channeling. So that's freaking awesome. Let's say, as a healer, you're about to eat it. You channel this. All the damage that your homies around you are taking is now reduced. And I'm guessing it's going to be significant because it's an ultimate.
Yes.
And you heal yourself up really fast.
Now,
And then
what I want to point out with this tooltip, though, is it says channels a restorative aura. When I think of channeling, I think of you are literally channeling it. You can't cast while you're doing this. You're in one spot. You're channeling. It's not like it doesn't say cast time or anything like that. You're channeling it, so you're not moving. You can't do anything else. So I would assume the restorative aura, the healing that you get is going to be very significant, and the damage reduction is going to be very significant.
Right.
Like, that is something that will literally turn the tides of a fight right there. As long as, you could still probably be muck ducked when you're casting this ability if you got too many people on you, obviously. But if you cast this in the right spot and you got enough people to back you up, I feel like this could definitely turn the tides of a fight. It's going to be good.
Yeah, and there's a skill that ties in with this ultimate, I think, really well, because anytime you're channeling an ability, all it's going to take is another Templar to hit you up with a focus charge and interrupt you, or a Sork to silence you, or a Dragon Knight to just pull you out of that channeling with his Fire Reach. There's going to be so many ways to cancel this, and that's kind of scary because channeling an ability, easily interruptible. But there's an ability here that could help that. But the next active ability is Rushed Ceremony. It simply heals a nearby wounded ally.
Straight up heal.
I really love that because it heals a nearby wounded ally. That doesn't mean you have to actually aim at the ally.
It doesn't say targeted at all.
So you can be, let's say, shooting, an enemy with your bow, and let's say you're an archer, and you have Restoring Light abilities on your bar. You're shooting the enemy with your bow, and then you cast Rush Ceremony. The way I see it in my head is when you activate that ability, a healing beam will heal the closest wounded ally, whoever's wounded. I mean, I think that's the way I see it in my head. I could be completely wrong. Maybe you have to aim at the ally to heal him with Rush Ceremony, possibly. But if you could DPS and then cast that, and it heals someone close by without you having to aim at them, so you can help out with DPS, that is awesome and very good for healing. I think that's really good. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I like thinking of this ability because it seems so simple in theory that, heals nearby wounded ally. But then I think of like a morph for this ability where it applies a heal and then maybe adds another additional heal over time, or a heal and then maybe a slight incoming damage reduction to the target that you heal. It sounds super simple, but it could end up being something that you're definitely you just want because it morphs really well. I think it's just a good ability in general.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it's going to morph obviously into something much more. Maybe it'll heal the 3 closest allies next to you, or maybe the cost will be reduced by half, or maybe you'll have like a 50% chance to crit the heal or something like that with the morph. It'll morph into something much better. The next active is Healing Ritual. Heals all nearby allies. The caster receives additional healing. That's incredibly awesome. I'm assuming it's going to be a smaller heal than Rush Ceremony, but it's an AoE heal, and you get to get a little healed as well.
And you get the caster receives additional healing, so another really good healing ability, absolutely.
The next active is Restoring Aura, and I believe this is going to be good for folks that don't necessarily want to be a healer, but they just want a good ability on their bar from the Restoring Light tree, and that's when slotted, you have increased stamina and health regeneration. When activated, allies regenerate health and stamina at a faster rate. So you can throw this on your bar and forget about it if you're soloing, because it'll just automatically increase your stamina and health regen.
Right.
But if you do happen to activate it with friends around, they're going to get their health and stamina regenerated fast as well. And this is cool.
It doesn't say like this is one of the with the sorcerer, when you summoned some of your pets, you had an overall magicka reduction, like some of your magicka was gone. It doesn't seem like it's something like that where you would toggle this on. So I would assume when you activate this ability, it's probably going to last something for like 30 seconds or something like that, I would guess.
Restoring Aura ability is going to go very well with that Sun Shield ability in Aedric Spear, that when you turn it on, you have a bunch of it's kind of like a thorn shield that you don't regen magicka with. You put this on with that, and you're a stamina build, using weapon skills and whatnot. Oh my lordy, it's going to be so hard to kill you. It's going to be seriously, it is.
That's going to be so good.
It's going to be awesome if you decided to go a stamina route with Restoring Aura and Sun Shield. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really, really strong.
Let's see here. The next active is Cleansing Ritual. Instantly remove a negative effect from the caster and heals allies in an area. Allies may activate Purify, which is a synergy, removing all negative effects.
Yeah, it doesn't say synergy in there, but it's definitely a synergy.
Yeah.
Which is great. We always talk about how much we love the synergies with the different abilities. So.
I also believe this is going to be good, possibly for just a DPS Templar. Maybe like a melee DPS Templar.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He jumps into the fray. He gets a bunch of negative effects on him. He casts this to get rid of that snare while he's healing his buddies. And then if someone does actually hit that Purify synergy ability, all the negative effects removed, that is game-changing.
Yeah. And I would imagine something like this could... it doesn't say anything about removing a negative effect and then being immune to a negative effect for X amount of seconds, which I always like abilities that are like that. But it doesn't say that right now, but maybe when it morphs or something, you could have,
immunity.
Cast ability and then be immune to a negative effect for 2 seconds or something like that. Not something that would be completely broken where you can just... be immune to all negative effects for 10 seconds, but 1 to 2 seconds where they can't CC you again would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, maybe it'll morph to that. Do I see it happening? Not necessarily, but it could.
Possibly.
It could happen, maybe. I don't think it will, but if it does, that would be amazing. It really would. I see that ability as something you're gonna want when you're playing like an up and close and personal Templar,
where you're going to want to jump in and you're going to want to be close for your damage, and that's something you're going to want. Anytime you can remove negative effects and keep chasing is money in the bank, so it's going to be really strong. And this next active is called Rune Focus. Creates an area of self-protection, gaining immunity to interrupt effects and taking less damage while the effect lasts. Oh man, that is really good. That's going to be good for tanking, and this is the ability that I think is going to be good for Rite of Passage, the ultimate, because you're in that self-protected area that gains immunity to interrupt. This is your chance to actually use your ultimate Rite of Passage to channel that restorative aura, where allies take less damage while channeling, and the heal
the healer, or the caster, excuse me, heals while channeling, you're going to want to drop this skill first, Rune Focus,
Yeah.
and then do your ultimate Rite of Passage within the Rune Focus area. So you put those together, it's going to be... Because it directly reflects it. If you look, with the ultimate, nearby allies take less damage while channeling. With Rune Focus, you take less damage while the effect lasts. So effectively, everyone has their incoming damage reduced, and you can't be interrupted as you're healing everybody. Or excuse me, as you're healing yourself. That is just
strong.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, and I feel like this would be an ability you would use a lot, even outside of, using it combined with your ultimate Rite of Passage. It says immune to interrupt effects. That's knockbacks. That's everything. I mean, that's anything that could possibly interrupt your casting. You're immune to it, which is just crazy, crazy good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that ability a lot. I really do. Rune Focus plus Rite of Passage is going to be sexy pants. All right, now let's get into the passives. The first one is Master Ritualist. Increased resurrection speed. Players are resurrected with additional health, the chance of not consuming a soul gem in the process. Freaking cool, if you ask me. I mean, it's not the most useful, because, who in your party is really going to die? No one's going to die if you're that good of a healer. Come on.
Well,
no, I'm just kidding. Of course you're going to die.
However good of a healer you are, there's always going to be that tard that doesn't move out of something he has to. That's going to one-shot him. You're just going to be sitting over there face-palming.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't feel like it's something you absolutely would need for sure, but it's got its place, I guess.
Not consuming a soul gem is pretty cool. For leveling especially, I'm happy that it's one of the first passives to unlock. Later on down the line, when you're in endgame and soul gems might be a lot more common, this is not going to be necessarily the best. But for leveling up in a party while you're learning the game, yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next passive is called Lightweaver. Your restoring light abilities gain the following effects, and I love passive stuff that does this, that affects skills like this. Whoa, I think our chat's getting modded. Weird. That's very bizarre. Okay, anyway, Lightweaver. Your restoring light abilities gain the following effects. Restoring Aura has its duration increased. Healing Ritual has its cost reduced. And Rite of Passage, take less damage while channeling. And that's the ultimate. So that directly affects the ultimate and 2 other abilities. That's, if you're going to be a healer utilizing the Restoring Light tree, you're going to need that. You have to have it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Cost reduced on the Healing Ritual, Rite of Passage, take less damage while you're channeling. It's too good to pass up if you're going to be a full-blown healer. It's too good.
Right. The next passive is Mending. Increases the critical strike chance of restoring light abilities on allies. The magnitude of the increase is based on the amount of health the ally is missing. That is frickin' awesome. I love critical strike. It's one of my favorite stats in any game. For some reason, always has been. I like seeing big numbers.
Who doesn't?
And then you have a buddy that's at 20% health. He's getting close to dying. And then the crit is increased because he's lower.
Awesome.
That is
awesome.
Very cool.
I love it.
Excuse me. The next passive is Focused Healing. Increases the healing done to allies standing in your areas of protection, which include Rite of Passage, Cleansing Ritual, and Rune Focus. So if people, run over to that area of self-protection, like Rune Focus or whatever, they're going to get a flat bonus to healing, which is going to help a lot with groups that like to stick together and close-knit folks that like to stack on each other. I think this is going to reward stacking. So, and that's awesome because I like stacking. So yeah,
that's strong. I mean, anytime, even if it's there's obviously times when you don't want to be stacked up, but having the bonus healing for when you are stacked up is still good. You're gonna want it. You're absolutely gonna want this passive.
Right.
Anytime you can get a bonus to your healing is just it's good, definitely.
Yeah, and this is the healing line among the Templar class skills, and while it's good, I feel like the restoration staff will probably be the most common method of healing and the go-to method of healing. I feel like this is more of a support healing line, and that the restoration staff is probably going to be the better choice, just because it's a whole line completely dedicated to healing, and it's going to be powerful.
Yeah,
I think that restoring light is a good buffer though, and I think that Templars, without ever using a restoration staff, will be able to be raid healers or PvP healers just using restoring light.
Definitely, and I think about someone who goes into ESO and wants to heal. Even if you don't necessarily want to build in the restoring light tree and you want to use a resto staff, the passives in this tree are so good. I think it's just going to be important. It's going to be one of those things where if you want to go healing, you'll be like, well, I might not want all the abilities in the restoring light tree, but as far as some of the passives and one or two of the abilities, it's just going to be really, really good.
Yeah. Looks sexy to me. For some reason, the stamina build Templar is starting to sound cooler and cooler and cooler to me. Like, you put a couple of restoring light abilities with that sun shield ability, and you use like dual wield or something like that. Oh man, I have a feeling it's going to be extremely powerful. And we're only scratching the surface. The crazy builds we're going to see, and the Templar is awesome. Yeah, the Templar definitely seems like has really good DPS, AoE DPS, and tanking abilities, but at the same time, like I just said, it's also going to be a great healing class. And that's if you never even touch the restoration staff too. It's still going to be a good healing class. But yeah, it does seem like a support class to me. Because of the restoring light tree, that a whole tree dedicated to support kind of makes it a support class. But
well, and
you don't have to do that. You don't have to take that route.
I'm kind of thinking now about how we're going through all these different classes and looking at these actives and ultimates, and I mean, really, you're picking a class based on probably 2 or 3 of the abilities that you're going to read in all of these different things, just because of all the different skill lines there are as far as the weapon skill lines, the different guild skill lines, the PvP skill lines, all that stuff. Chances are you're probably going to have 2 or 3 of these abilities, 4 maybe of these abilities on your skill bar in the first place. So you're kind of looking through here to pick out what are the ones that would fit a build for you. And yeah. I look at some of these abilities in here, and I can think of so many different builds that could be incredibly fun to play as a Templar. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun to play.
I want to play a Templar, but at the same time, if you play a Templar, Deagen, I will play the DK. But Templar just seems sick, nasty, delicious to me. I don't know what it is.
We'll have to see.
I know. Just
could be really fun.
Do you guys in chat know what you're gonna play? Because it's so hard to pick.
When we finish it up and we go over the Nightblade. Were you going over Nightblade next Saturday?
Yeah, but I do have the Survivor games Saturday, so the show will be starting later on Saturday.
Well, when we officially go over the Nightblade skill trees and stuff like that, I'll have to make my decision then. Maybe it will bring my love for the Nightblade back a little bit. We'll see.
So, let's say you had to make a Templar, Deagen, with just Templar abilities, as we've done for the other classes.
Right.
What are the 5 abilities you would put together, and with what ultimate?
Gosh, well, we can't really pick the Restoring Light ultimate. You wouldn't pick that unless you wanted do your support build.
Right.
I think, it's hard because I would probably, just for soloing, I would probably choose Radial Sweep. If we were doing like group PvP stuff, I would probably have Nova. Nova for PvP seems like it would be a lot better, and for like leveling, I feel like Radial Sweep is going to be what you're going to want to use. But I'll probably use Radial Sweep. I would probably have some sort of build where it would be something along the line of starting with Solar Flare, obviously, because you want to put that on somebody, you do the AoE enemies around them, and then get the bonus damage on one. I would probably get Backlash, because I think it's just going to be incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
I would also probably get Blinding Light, just because I feel like if I was ever in a spot where I needed to absolutely survive, Blinding Light would do that for you.
Right.
And then maybe Spear Shards or Focus Charge, one of those. I feel like Spear Shards is going to do pretty good magic damage in AoE, but without being able to pick up the spear, without having somebody there for the bonus damage, it might not be worth it.
It's not gonna be worth it, yeah. It's definitely for group play, absolutely.
Yeah. But Focus Charge seems like that would be great too, just for the initiation. I mean, even if you went in and you Solar Flared, the guy, and then you just Focus Charge him, you're gonna get that bonus damage too and interrupt him. It's gonna be good.
Right.
There's a lot of really, really cool abilities. It's hard to choose. I don't feel like I would have really any of the abilities from Restoring Light in my tree, though, unless I wanted to be like the support healer. Or maybe I would keep Cleansing Ritual on my bar, just in case, someone slows me or I'm stunned or something. Because I feel like that could be
Ritual is
really
awesome.
strong. Yeah. I feel like that could be definitely strong.
I think the restoring aura could be really strong too, depending on how it morphs.
Yeah.
If you can morph it so that it also regens magicka maybe instead of stamina or something like that. Because who knows how that could change too.
Definitely.
You might even be able to morph it so that it regens magic and stamina instead of health and stamina. Like who knows? Now with me, if I was going to make a tank, I would definitely go with Nova because of the damage reduction and the dot.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my ultimate. I'd also have Focus Charge, close the gap, get to the enemies.
Absolutely.
Spear Shards, for sure, because it's an AoE in a target area, and I'd want to help my group with the spear that adds bonus damage. The other three would consist of Backlash, of course, just because it stores up all that damage, and it's going to be great.
I feel like that ability is going to just be really fun to use.
Yeah.
It'll be really fun.
Oh, yeah. And then I would also use Solar Flare, deal damage to the target and any nearby enemies affected, take extra damage from the next attack. That's just awesome. And then the last ability I would use would be Blinding Light, causing all incoming enemy attacks to miss. Sometimes a missed attack causes the attacker to come off balance.
Yeah. Solar Flare, Backlash, and Blinding Light are crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy good.
It's really good. That's what I would do if I was a tank. Now, if I was going that stamina build, like I was saying before, I would go with Radial Sweep for that hard damage, Focus Charge, close the gap, Sun Shield, because I'm not really using Magicka too much. Would also use Sunfire for the snare. And then I would actually use some Restoring Light stuff. I would use the Restoring Aura, and I would probably use the Cleansing Ritual to get rid of negative effects.
Yeah, that's going to be a really strong ability too. Cleansing Ritual is going to be good.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to...
Really awesome. Really awesome class skill lines with the Templar here. We've gone over Dragon Knight, we've gone over Sorcerer, and now we've gone over Templar, and they all seem really, really, really strong and incredibly fun to play, but the Templar has got some crazy strong abilities. Crazy strong.
Yeah, I just backlash. That's the one ability. That's the scariest ability. I think it's the scariest ability in the game. Backlash.
I mean, if you think
That's
about it, it could have the
a cap.
potential to
Oh,
be
okay.
like one of the highest, if not the highest damaging ability in the game, depending on how much damage you take and how much damage you can heal through.
But what if there's a cap?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the only thing. If
It
there's a
says
cap,
it
that
doesn't
would
say
be
there's a cap. I
sick.
mean, from the looks of it, it says enemies take some base damage plus the full amount of damage taken by the Templar. So
Hmm. Well, then I don't see it having a cap. I mean, if it's really the full amount of damage taken, then backlash is the most terrifying ability in the game, depending on.
it's gonna, you're gonna get hit with a backlash one of these days playing in PvP. You're gonna be like, "What the heck was that?"
No, it's true. You're going to because it's the whole amount, all the damage that the Templar's taken is reflected to anyone that's damaged him, right? So let's say you're some archer in the back and you do AoE damage, and only one tick of that AoE damage happens to hit that backlashed Templar. When the backlash thing ends, anyone that hit him takes the full
Doesn't
brunt of
even say
damage, right?
anyone that hit him. It just says enemies surrounding the Templar.
Oh, enemies surrounding. Oh, let me reread
And it
this.
says when the effect ends, nearby enemies take some of the base damage
Nearby
plus the full
enemies.
amount of damage taken by the Templar.
Okay, well, nearby enemies, that changes things. Okay. Let me.
So you don't even have to hit them. That's what I'm saying. Like in PvP, when you're running through a group and you're
Okay,
just
yeah, that's
naturally
true.
taking
Okay.
damage, you're just gonna be walking around blowing people up.
Okay, then I'm
As
happy
long
that
as
you
you're not
corrected me.
dying from the damage you're taking, obviously.
Yeah, sorry for the incorrect information there. Yeah, so anyone that's around the Templar when he backlashes will take the damage. So basically, that range guy should be safe then. It's the melee folks that need to be really careful.
Yeah.
But melee folks normally a little tankier, they have bigger health pools and whatnot. But I still think backlash is going to be disgusting.
Like I think a Dragon Knight could fight a Templar in like a melee battle, but if you're playing a Nightblade and you want to fight a Templar, I would suggest not doing it. I
Yeah,
would
it's
suggest not doing it.
unless you can stun them a lot. I don't know. It's going to be crazy though. What do you think in terms of a standard PvE build? If you were just going to be a solo PvE guy, what do you think we're gonna be seeing?
As far as what people are going to take out of the skill line here,
Yeah, like what skill line do you think would be the most popular? I think Dawn's Wrath is going to be really popular for solo folks.
oh yeah, I mean just think about it, dude. With Solar Flare, with the AoE and the bonus damage plus backlash, you can literally walk into a group, Solar Flare, the biggest guy in there, the one with the most health, and pop backlash. You know, I don't know how long the backlash duration lasts. I would guess probably like 5 seconds tops. And then after 5 seconds, you blow up. I mean, it's
gonna be
gonna be
crazy.
you're gonna be clearing enemies crazy fast, crazy fast. And you know what the crazy thing too is about Dawn's Wrath is Solar Flare is the second active and Backlash is the third active. So you still have Eclipse and Blinding Light after that, which means you're going to get both of those abilities somewhat pretty early on.
Yeah.
So, oh gosh, it's gonna be so crazy good for leveling. Crazy
it's
good
awesome.
for leveling.
I think we're going to see in PvP a lot of restoring light, folks. I think we're going to see a lot of DPS Templar that have healing ritual on their bar, which is the heal all nearby allies, and the caster receives additional healing. Now, that's one thing we might have accidentally misspoke about earlier, and I wanted to touch up on that, the healing ritual. Healing ritual heals all nearby allies, and the caster receives additional healing. I think earlier I might have said the caster is also healed too. Now the caster receives additional healing, as in he gets a flat percentage maybe, or a buff on incoming healing on him. So you get like 5% more heal out of any heal that's being cast on you. Not necessarily you're being healed as well. So healing ritual is going to be an AoE heal that gives you a buff that has you receiving more healing. I think that's going to be really important in PvP. And you're going to see a lot of DPS Templar rolling with that.
Oh, you think healing ritual is gonna be a buff that the caster gets?
Yeah, like whenever you cast Healing Ritual, you heal all nearby allies, and then the caster receives additional healing. So I think for a short amount of time, you're gonna get additional healing.
See, because
5,
when I
10%
read
or
that, I
whatever.
feel like, say it's a flat 100 heal or something. Again, just using a number. It seems to me from reading that if you heal your nearby allies for 100, that maybe you would receive like 150 or something like that.
Right. And Rune Focus and Cleansing Ritual as well are going to be invaluable in PvP. The whole self-protection thing, gaining immunity to interrupt effects, and taking less damage just in that area, and then you can have people stack on you with
Yeah.
the focused healing passive, which increases healing done to allies who are standing in your areas of protection. Rune Focus is going to be important too.
And that's another one of the things where I say where, yeah, anybody can technically heal with a resto staff. But as far as being a healer that is, a true healer and going to be incredibly tough, I mean, that ability right there is crazy. Rune Focus is so good.
Yeah.
Avoid all, that's how you beat a healer is interrupts and stuns. That's how you kill a healer. You have to CC them and kill them.
Yep.
And being immune to that is so crazy good. So good.
Yeah. That's damn good, yeah. Well, should we get into viewer questions? Who's
Yeah, sure.
got questions?
I know there's been questions popping up during the vodcast, and again, so we don't get too off topic, we've avoided them. It's not that we haven't seen them. Trust me and Soma watch the chat like hawks when we're talking about this stuff, but just for the sake of the vodcast, we wait till the end to answer the viewer questions. So if you guys have questions, now is the time. Now's the time.
Okay.
Is this game
What you guys got?
totally manual aiming or some tab targeting involved? Well, targeting in this game is unique. I wouldn't say it's tab targeting, and I wouldn't say it's completely manual aiming either. You kind of have like a soft locking system where as long as your cursor is anywhere near the target, you're going to be hitting that target pretty much. That's the easiest, shortest way to explain it.
Exactly.
It is somewhat of a mix, yeah. It's a little bit of a mix.
Force Hammer, real quick question. Think you can force charge while sneaking? Yeah.
I
think
can
so.
imagine you would. You probably won't be in stealth after you do it, but I can imagine you'd be able to use that ability, of course.
What class do you think will be the best mage class? Probably Sorcerer, closely followed by the Templar, though.
Well, the Sorcerer has a lot of passives and stuff, too, that give you bonus to Magicka and regen and stuff like that. So Sorcerer probably has maybe a little bit of a leg up, but Templar is probably pretty close second.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's see here. Is the Warden class 1000% taken out from launch? Yes, there's no Warden class. Feints. Peas in a can. What variations do you think the Templar could have?
I think the Templar is going to be able to play a lot of crazy roles. I mean, they'll be able to play like straight up melee with a lot of weapon skills on your skill bars, and they're going to be able to play a caster, a support healer. They're going to be able to play like AOE. Let's just straight up AOE. It's going to be crazy. They have so much AOE.
I think we're going to see mobile. We're going to see a lot of melee DPS healers in PvP. We're going to see
crazy good tanks too. Templars are going to make crazy tanks.
Yep. We're going to see folks swinging two-handed swords or swinging dual-wield swords who are also healing their buddies while they're doing wicked DPS.
So
we're going to see a lot of that.
So far from reading through the Sorcerer and the Templar, both of them have AoE, and I think who comes out on top as far as AoE goes is going to be the one, because we don't know the damage numbers yet. I would guess the Sorcerer is probably going to have a little bit more damage, but the Templar has a lot of AoE. A lot.
Yeah, AoE tanking will go hand in hand with Templar players. You're going to see a lot of trash clearing AoE tanks, and I think that the Dragon Knight might be the better choice for tanking overall, but you're going to see a shit ton of Templar tanks because of the AoE. Absolutely.
And Craze is asking how bows are going to work in this game. Same kind of thing. You have your soft lock system where as long as you're around the target you're aiming at, your arrows are going to hit the target. It would be probably very unwelcomed if in an MMO you literally had to hit every shot with your bow. You'd probably see a lot more people playing a melee class. So they set it up in a good way. It doesn't really feel that bad when you're in there and shooting your bow. So it'll work out.
Indeed. Let's see here. What era does the game take place? It takes place in the middle of the second era. I think it's second era, the year 580 or 583 or 585. I can't remember the year. They said it in an article, but it's like the year 580 something, in the middle of the second era, and it's like 1,000 years before the events of Morrowind and Skyrim. So
I think so. I think that's what they said. Yeah.
800 years before Morrowind, 1,000 before Skyrim. So yeah, lots of room for expansion packs and stuff that isn't going to be more breaking because it's so much time in between the actual games.
Yeah, they really chose a good spot to plop this game in. They're giving themselves quite a bit of time frame to where they can wiggle around a little bit, so it's good. It's a good time. Right. What is a tree that offers more range to AoE? As far as the tree for Templars, I would say you're going to want to go in the middle one, which is the Dawn's Wrath. The AoE in Dawn's Wrath is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Dawn's Wrath for Templar for sure.
But there are some good AoE spells in the first one. When you've got a Spear Shard, which I think is going to be really strong. And then Sun Shield, again, is another AoE where you deal damage on activation and then returns damage when you're getting hit. So that's going to be good too, but as far as overall AoE goes, Dawn's Wrath is where you're going to want to go.
Do you think it'll be hard to know what you are going up against in PvP? Yeah, at first. And then once you become more of a pro and you've been playing for several months, and you kind of know, like, okay, that weapon, that 200 weapon Templar is probably going to have these abilities because that's the build that people are kind of playing right now, or that, that Nightblade has a bow, he's probably going to be a stealthy, medium armor kind of guy, or that Dragon Knight is dual wielding, he's probably going to have these kind of skills. After a while, you'll be able to kind of read what your opponent is and what he's doing based on what he's wearing and what he's wielding. But at first, it's going to be the Wild West, baby. You're not going to know shit.
Yeah, it's going to be
weird.
Especially early on, really the only thing you're going to have as a tell on an enemy running up to you is the armor he's wearing and the weapons he's wielding. Until he casts something outside of that, it's we got to wait till he plays his cards. You're not going to know. It's going to be really interesting, a really interesting PvP system to start out. But besides that, it's gonna be interesting because you don't really know. I mean, he could be a sorcerer, walking around in heavy armor. He could be, he could be a Dragon Knight walking around in light armor. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want, and it's gonna be really hard to tell. Really, really hard to tell.
What class are you looking forward to playing the most? Me. I'm tied right now between Templar and Dragon Knight.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm probably going to main tank as a Dragon Knight.
And I think it's going to work out really good.
Yeah. My alternate character, not ultimate ability, depending on what Deagen plays, will either be a Templar or a Sorc. But I can see myself wanting to roll a DPS healing type role for PvP. Medium armor, heavy armor wearing like two-hand or dual-wielding guy that also can heal himself. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I think, for the sake of the guild, I'll be a main tank, heavy armor, sword and board, and two-hand weapon-wielding Dragon Knight. That's probably what's going to end up happening.
And then kind of the same for me. Obviously, me and Soma don't want to play the same class just for the sake of having two, separate streams, people being able to see different perspectives. So if he goes Dragon Knight first, I'm either going to go probably Nightblade or Templar beside him, and then our alts are going to be one of the other ones outside of that. So he'll either go Sork or Templar, and then I'll play whatever's left. So, and again, I don't think it has to do with one class being overpowered or anything like that, because everything we've read so far and everything we've discussed so far definitely points towards there's a lot of really strong abilities in any class tree that you're looking at, and I don't think you're gonna have any. You're not gonna be limited to what you can do. There's so many different abilities out there, so many different skills, and again, choosing your class is literally a small part of all the skills you're going to have access to. So,
right,
it's going to be good. It's going to be good. How do we get into the Black Void Wind Guild? Well,
we'll discuss that later.
We'll discuss it later. We're not sure what we're going to name our guild yet, but we will have a big guild, and we'd like to have as many people in it as possible. So,
yeah, the guild is gonna. How do you get in? That's the question though. It's a joint guild. Deagen and I will be running it, and it's going to be a first come first served basis for our subscribers on Twitch. And then anyone that wants to join after all the subs that have joined are in, just regular viewers, they can jump in as well. But there is a 300-person limit right now on guilds in ESO. So there's always
might be changed before launch. They have talked about possible change with that, but currently 300 guild cap is kind of low. I mean, the standard right now for MMOs is generally 500.
Right.
So hopefully they increase it, but right now it's only 300, so we got to be careful with that.
Right.
Are we going to have restrictions and applications? Absolutely not. Again, if you're a subscriber, don't care if you're casual or you're hardcore raider. I've ran 500-person guilds through my stream before too, and we can find spots for everybody. If you want a PvP, there'll be other people in the guild that only want a PvP. If you want a PvE, there will be plenty of that in this guild, I'll guarantee you that. If you want to do nothing but craft, there'll be a spot for you in the guild. We'll find something.
Yep.
We'll find something for you to do.
And it's not my guild and his guild teaming up. It's just one guild. We're going to be running one guild together.
Yes, one guild. And then we'll probably have like sister guilds or stuff like that too, where we maybe have our alts in that guild or something like that, just to make sure we're keeping room for people that are subs and want to be a part of the main guild. So,
is there going to be guild leadership? Yeah, Deagen and I will be running it, and then we'll also have some officers that can run the guild when we're not around.
Take care of stuff for us, absolutely.
And it'll be trusted folks from our channels that we believe will be, unbiased if they, get in a tiff with someone in the guild and not just kick them out. Like, try to be an adult and be responsible and make sure everyone's getting along. And yeah, people with experience running guilds would also be nice. But we'll get into all that stuff later for sure. But, I think that was a great episode. Sorry. I know I've been yawning nonstop, and I literally woke up right before the cast. I'm not going to do that anymore. From now on, I'm going to make sure I get up at least a couple hours before, so I'm not yawning and all sleepy. So sorry about that. But goddamn, the Templar is awesome.
Yep, I think that's going to do it for us, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching the ESO Vodcast. Again, we are partnered with Tamriel Foundry. Our Vodcasts are hosted on their website as well. If you guys have not checked out Tamriel Foundry, you should definitely check it out. It's going to be the place you want to go for anything and everything ESO related.
There it is in the chat right there.
Definitely check it out. Make an account and check out the forums. There's a lot of great stuff on there. If you're interested about the game and maybe have a question that we didn't answer, that is a great place to ask the question. There's a lot of very helpful people on those forums.
Yep.
Thank you for watching, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the Vodcast. We will be back on Saturday, and we'll be going over the Nightblade. And I can't wait, because Nightblade is what I want to play. So, thank you guys so much. You have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night.
Peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.
Later, brosis.